Hello, my friends. How are you? Welcome to the Jazz Real Book. I am your host, Jay Sweet. Today's tune is Alfie. Alfie is a ballad penned by the great Burt Bacharach with lyrics by Hal David. It was initially created for the 1966 film of the same name starring actor Michael Caine. Over the years, various artists have performed Alfie, solidifying its status in the great American songbook. The lyrics of Alfie dive into the theme of self-discovery and the pursuit of the meaning of life. The song challenges the character Alfie to contemplate the repercussions of his actions and decisions. Dionne Warwick notably covered Alfie, achieving great success with her rendition in 1967, and other artists including Celia Black and Cher, and the version we're going to hear, Bill Evans, have also interpreted this song. And that's a little about Alfie. So the version we're about to check out comes from the great pianist Bill Evans. Bill Evans was born on August 16, 1929 in Plainfield, New Jersey. He showed an early interest in music and began playing the piano at the age of 7. He also played the flute, I believe. Now, he had a deep interest in classical music. He was inspired then by big band music and became interested in smaller group jazz as a teen and started playing for local venues. In 1946, he enrolled at Southeastern Louisiana University on a flute scholarship, but also studied piano and began composing. After graduation, he formed a trio with guitarist Mundell Lowe and bassist Red Mitchell. He then went to Chicago and worked and toured with Herbie Fields. After receiving his draft notice, he spent 1951 through 1954 in the Army, playing flute, piccolo, and piano in an Army band. By 1955, Bill Evans returned to New York City, studied at Mannes College of Music, and returned to performing. He then began a critical musical relationship with pianist, composer, and theorist George Russell. In 1957, Bill Evans recorded his debut album called New Jazz Concepts on Riverside Records. This showcased his cooler, more classically influenced jazz style, revealing a shift from the more active bebop styles of people like Bud Powell. He also began working with Charles Mingus, Oliver Nelson, Art Farmer. In 1958, Bill Evans began working with the Miles Davis Sextet, which was a pivotal moment in his career. While Davis was experimenting with modal jazz, Evans was the perfect pianist to fit that style, which centered on improvising over a specific scale or chord for long periods of time, adding for a further focus on texture and experimentation. He left Miles Davis's group in 1958, but returned briefly in 1959 to record with Davis on the classic album Kind of Blue. During the time of Kind of Blue, late 1950s into the early 1960s, Bill Evans continued solo and sideman efforts and formed his own historic trio with bassist Scott LaFaro and drummer Paul Motion. The groundbreaking trio featured a new conversational concept in which these three rhythm section musicians broke from their traditional timekeeping roles to present a more open sound. Now, sadly, Scott LaFaro died in 1961 at the age of 25 in a car accident. It was pretty tragic. And Bill Evans was devastated, of course, and he did not perform for several months as his heroin addiction increased. He had an issue with that. So despite his addiction, though, and the trauma of LaFaro's death, Bill Evans did continue to formulate incredible trios and record solo works throughout his life. So by 1970s, things weren't going great for Bill Evans. In 1973, he met further tragedy when his longtime girlfriend committed suicide by throwing herself in front of a subway car after they broke up. The incident led to an increase of his heroin use, and then he went for methadone treatments to deal with his addiction. And even so, he continued to release quality music. Then in 1979, Bill Evans' brother, Harry, committed suicide. And Evans, who had seemingly kicked heroin, began using cocaine. And in 1980, he died due to the effects of his drug use at the age of 51. Now, Bill Evans was an absolute legend who would reshape the sound of jazz piano and jazz in general. All right. All right, so for the jazz nerd, let's take a deeper look into the composition. I give this one a standards rating of about 5 out of 10 and a difficulty rating of 6 of 10. It's not a commonly called song on a jazz jam session. Alfie is a strange tune. The A sections are 10 bars long, the B sections are 8 bars long, and the C sections are 14 bars. So the entire form is 42 bars long, which is a little unusual. The song is sectioned into A, B, C. Each letter represents different material. And melodically, the song has little repeated material to draw the listener in. The most memorable melodic moment, or those are the choices of notes, is the opening 1.5 bar theme, which returns again on the C section. Other than that, the melody is somewhat disconnected. Harmonically, the tune, in the real book at least, keeps a C major tonality throughout the A sections and uses a series of connecting chords that we know as 2-5-1 chords. The B section is ambiguous, but retains a C major or A minor sort of tonality, and the C section mainly remains in the home key, again, of C major. However, it is rather harmonically active throughout, with most measures having 2 chords per bar. Now, take notice of the fermata. That's a held out note in measure 7 of the C section. And there you go, jazz nerds. That's a little bit on Alfie. Let's talk about the track.